technical difficulties, and now everything is fine. Okay, here we go. So we were talking about the directives that were given to us by council. I think it was Councilperson Reed who asked if there were story times, and I said yes, lots of story times for lots of different ages. And then he asked if they ever have volunteers come in to do the story time, which was my first I'm so glad you asked moment, because we have talked about doing a program called Leaders Are Readers, or like once a month they would each come in between mayor and council, the police chief and the fire chief. There are 5, 6, 7, 8 of them. And so during school year, they could come in the afternoon and read a picture book or other book that was meaningful to them as a child, or that they enjoy, or what have you. And he seemed really receptive to that when I brought that up. So that'll be something that we can kind of get started in the new year. And then Councilperson Neal also asked about, do we have a bookmobile, or have we ever thought about a bookmobile? And I got to say, I am so glad you asked about that. Yes. And so then we talked about our 2045 proposal and all the different things that we had presented. And I alluded to the fact that Ben had told us no about any of it, and that we could not have any money for any of it. And Mayor Lynn said when it's time for budgeting again, to write a proposal of what would it cost, and just to ask for the money. So that's something that we can look into. I feel like the budgeting cycle is
really and truly, staff will start working on that
like in January, right?
Most likely December, January, yes.
So if that's something that we want to do, then Heather said that she has done that kind of a proposal already at a library that she worked at before to get a bookmobile. So she kind of already knows the numbers and things of what it will cost to do that and to get it started and up and running. And the city already maintains a fleet of vehicles, right, for public works, the parks department, code enforcement, police trucks and the fire trucks. So it's kind of like, what is one more vehicle? It will mean an amendment to the contract. It'll mean another person whose job it is to run it, and all of those things. So that's something we can look forward to presenting to them, because they seemed interested, which I was shocked by, but pleasantly surprised by. So I'm grateful for that. So that was the meeting. So
any additional feedback from council?
No, they just thank you for everything you're doing.
The mayor asked about the English.
He asked about
Spanish
Spanish as a second language, if that was coming back, because he really enjoyed it. He participated, and it was kind of his idea. And so we're looking for a teacher, and they jokingly volunteered Councilman Roman. And then he had a question, Mr. Roman did, about the Teen Advisory Board, because there used to be a board as part of the boards and councils that was the Teen Advisory Board, and they advised all the city services on what they could do for teens. And he was like, I thought we sunsetted that, and they had. And so he was confused about what this was, which is part of why it is going to be getting its own cool name, so that it's not confusing to people about what it is. And I think that was everything.
Yes.
So now we are on to Fine Free.
So today is a review, so you guys have a chance to see, think about, come up with anything you think should be added or taken out or suggested. But I have provided the information packet and how it relates to Farmers Ranch, as well as the presentation I plan to present to City Council. As we've discussed previously, fine free would mean that fines only would go away. All fines from the past would be wiped out, and going forward, we would no longer charge fines. If if you look on the first page of that packet, you'll see a map. All of the blue dots are fine-free libraries. The red dots are the libraries that still charge fines in North Texas. This is not a new idea.
Right.
It is something that we are a little behind on and are trying to catch up with, because fine-free really does impact our community in our lower income and our fixed income community. Yes,
We'll say it's not a new idea, but it's not exactly an old idea either.
it's been around since 2017.
That's not terribly old.
No.
No, but
we're
in
not
the
talking
library
20
world,
years.
moving this fast is
But in 8 years, this many libraries.
Yeah, no,
in the-
that's a
in the
lot.
Immediate area have adopted this.
Mhm.
It
Yes.
means that it is moving very quickly towards being like,
Mhm.
that's a bullet point.
yes.
Heather, is it just fines, or like if like the library book was destroyed, would they still have to pay to replace it?
They would.
So it's just like overdue.
Yes.
Okay.
So
My favorite stat when I was looking through all of this is that the majority of people with fines are children. And the majority of the books that are charged late fees are children's books,
they are.
which I don't think anyone should feel good about.
So I have a chart here that explains library cards from 2011 to current. And there are 10,000 expired library cards with fines.
So
That's
that's money you'll never get.
that's money you'll never get, but there's also potentially 10,000 patrons that could potentially come back to the library. And that is expired cards. That is 2021 and previous. They have not been back. And the majority of those are most likely because they have fines on their account and don't think they can come back. And of those, over 30% of those fines were put on children's accounts. We have people that come in every single day. They want to get a card. It's their first time as an adult getting a card. But when they were 10, they had a library card and it had a fine on it. And that account is still existing in our system. And we need to clear that and give these citizens a fresh slate.
Yeah.
Um,
And like my kids have, it's not their fault that their book didn't make it back on time, right? They can't drive a car, right? They can't get, like, it's on me. So it's anyway. And I'm the one who's paying for it anyway. The child is not paying for it, except for my kid who did lose a book. I did make him pay for it.
Another important fact that I have included in this presentation is how many of these are Farmers Branch residents. I feel the city council will think that's a big part
Yeah.
of it, is how many of those are Farmers Branch residents. And so I've broken it down by amounts, $100 amounts, and then smaller into a blocked account.
Hmm.
And out of
20
all the library cards, if there's a $200 fine, we only have 14 of those with active cards.
Hmm.
But 85% of those are Farmers Branch residents.
Hmm.
Oh,
If
So
they're
the majority of these people are people who live in the city.
yes,
Okay.
Uh,
So it's not like it's someone from Addison or Carrollton or Dallas or wherever. It's
No.
people who
80%
live here.
on average, 80% of these fines are Farmers Branch residents, not Carrollton, not Addison, not Tech Share cards. These are our residents. And these numbers that are written here are fines only. They do not include loss and damage fines, which patrons would still be responsible for. The majority of the library's income to the general fund is actually going to be library prints. People come in to print. Last year, we brought in $10,500 in prints,
Oh.
but in fines, we brought in $4,000. For a city this size, $4,000 is not a major investment in giving these resources back to the citizens.
we might pick up a whole lot of people.
Potentially,
Yeah.
yes.
They might come in and print some more.
Yes,
Yeah, exactly. Once they're in here, right?
Um,
Well, and now that it's easier to print or
our new system's not
not
in yet.
in yet, but when the new system is in, and it's easier to print and people can,
They
Do it-
won't even have to interact with staff if they don't want to.
yeah, and they can do it from an app on their phone.
Yes.
And so how much more will people print when it's tap, tap, tap on your phone, Apple Pay, Google Pay, what have you,
Yes.
to pay for their prints, and you don't have to have hard money.
Correct.
I work in IT and it was difficult to get stuff printed out of there. It was not intuitive.
Yeah.
It is not.
So it's supposed to be a lot easier too.
Yes.
Does this new system, I'm probably off track, does this new system include faxing?
It does not. However, if someone comes in and wants to fax, we can send you to a website that will allow you to scan to fax.
Cool.
The only thing is we cannot receive faxes. We can send, we cannot receive.
So you could then scan something too?
You can scan, you can take a picture with your phone, either of those, and they can be sent as faxes, yes.
Interesting.
And they are accepted by medical professionals. And all of those. Yes, that is something we can do currently.
Yeah, when I was reading through all of this, when you sent it out last week, I felt that the arguments are very compelling as to why we should go fine free.
I feel it's more of an old fashioned thought
But it's
that
punitive.
charging that 10 cents a day is going to create responsibility in patrons. If they don't have it, they don't have it. And we're denying them a service because they don't have 10 cents. And so.
Yeah.
Yes. And
Library should not be in the business of making money.
No, not when it's a not-for-profit entity, as cities themselves are not-for-profit entities, right?
There is a concept, of course, of cost recovery, but that only goes.
But what cost are you recovering for a late book?
Yeah.
For a missing book or a damaged
That would
book,
be
I
cost-
get,
that would
yeah,
be
I
cost
get that, but
Yeah, that's fees.
that's fees, which are staying.
The fines go to the general fund of the city.
Yes.
So that's gonna be an argument by city council that it will be lost income.
it will be $4,000 a year lost income.
But if
Yes.
you look at it as the percentage of the total,
I don't know, I've dealt with city council a couple of times with infrastructure kinds of stuff that was gonna cost hundreds of dollars. And they argued over it for a half an hour till finally one city councilman said, I'll pay for it.
Yeah, $4,000 out of 40,000 citizens.
Although
is
they see
not-
many residents are not being served
Yes.
because of it,
yeah.
that would be your strongest argument to me.
And then the
believe so.
majority of those residents that are being penalized also happen to be children.
There are children, seniors on fixed incomes. They don't
Right.
have the extra money to come and pay the blocked fee or.
Is it possible, I have no idea how you would calculate this, is it
Yes.
possible to estimate how many prints would be, or how many of these people would come back if we did go with this? We're saying, you know, with the 2011 and 2021 expired library cards, there's 10,000, right? Is there any way that we can find more of that kind of demographic in those hard numbers for council?
Not particularly because those are the people that left that had fines. But I can't tell you that that's the only reason they never came back.
Like they could have moved
Got it.
or died. I mean, or
Something
whatever.
happened.
Something happened that made them no longer active.
But
That's part of it could have been the fines. But also if they moved and they just moved without paying their fines and fees.
This is 2011 is just because it went fast.
2011 is when we got our current library system.
Okay.
So that is when the data starts.
So basically what happened in 2011 is we've reset anyway.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
2011 is the year that LSNS
took
started
over.
managing the library. And that is when we started using our current library system.
so it's been almost 16 years, basically. Am I doing the math right?
13.
13, not at all right.
Healthcare professional.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's late.
Computer does that. since we've last done a refresh, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Yes. And also the state library board suggests not keeping any records for privacy over 3 years. If they are inactive for more than 3 years, it is a liability on our end to hold on to their data
Hmm,
because we are holding on to their private data.
yeah.
So that is, again, that is a suggestion from the State Library and Archives Commission that every 3 years we purge any inactive data.
And it's staying open basically because they have a fine. If that makes sense.
Yes.
So it's opening it up basically to liability because we
You're
can't purge it.
keeping, you can't, you're saying you can't purge that account information because they have a fine?
Yes.
Unless we were to clear the fine from the system.
Then you could fully close the account, but you
Yes.
cannot close the account as long as there's a fine, even if the card is inactive.
Yes.
Okay.
Even if the card holders are not.
Yes.
Would they get notified if they find or
We would advertise that. It would be an advertising campaign. I've also included in that little packet of data several other local libraries and Texas libraries that have gone fine free, and what the links provided are the newspaper articles, the reactions that
Oh, okay, great.
the citizens have had for that.
Supporting documentation.
Yes.
Yes. No, this is really well done.
I agree with the concept. I've always
Yeah.
agreed with the concept. I think it's a good presentation. I think you should be able to evaluate the concept.
Yes,
Question is, can I give a good presentation?
It's on you.
yes, I think you can. I'll come with you.
So what
I'll come with you.
we will all
More than welcome.
Is that okay?
I would imagine.
We're hoping early. Robert has talked about, we will revisit this in January at our next meeting to get past motion whether or not we approve
Because
as
this
a
is
group.
just information. So we have to take a motion that we want to,
Take
not,
this-
not today. Not today, in January, because we're not meeting in December. So it will punt to January and make it an action item. And then once we've done that and we've voted on it, then we can work towards getting it on the council agenda
The goal is to get it to council before they start
budget.
budget.
Needs to go in January. We need to have it as an action item for January.
Yes,
Yeah.
which is our next.
which is our next meeting. Yep.
Precisely.
Yep. Yeah, it's
I
great.
like the fact in here that when they drop the fines, actually the lateness of the book were cut. So kind of think sometimes that you get.
What does it
that,
matter? It's already
Yeah, I
late.
was
Yeah,
already late, I'm gonna be fine, I'll just keep it even longer. When,
Right.
Oh, I need to return this and.
Well, and if it's a $10 book
Yeah.
and you have $10 in fines, I'm just going to keep the book.
right.
It's 100 days.
It does happen.
Well, and at 60 days late, the book's considered lost anyway,
Well,
right?
60 days late. However, at that point, they have already had it for 9 weeks.
Yeah,
And then it's 60 days after that 9 weeks that it becomes lost. So they've had it a good 5 months by the time we've charged them for it.
any other questions about that?
revisit in January?
We'll revisit in January. Yep, it'll become part of our,
It's a future item.
yep, yes, when we get there, we'll add it for sure. All right, so now we receive a report from the Jola Book of Flood Subcommittee, which is Lee, Paul, and myself. We braved election day traffic to have a quick meeting up here. It wasn't that bad. I have reached out to Vince, who is our contact at the library. Not at the library, at the hospital. And he is out of office. And he said when he got back, he would have his team look into how many books are remaining from when we dropped off books last year, to see if they would be interested in continuing the partnership. So if he says no, the one thing that we need to be thinking about is alternative recipients, because we are the benefactor, alternative recipients. So the plan that we came up with, and Heather suggested this, is start collecting books November 25th, which is the Monday before Thanksgiving, and kind of run through Santa and Cookie. So that being like the final last day to drop off books being Santa and Cookies. We've kind of put together 2 different sorting dates for people to come up here to do. The first one being December 10th in the afternoon, like 1 o'clock-ish, for people who can do that during the day. Is it a Thursday? I think it's a Thursday. The 10th, Tuesday. Is it a Tuesday? That's right, because it's after your class. Yeah, so the 10th is a Tuesday. And then the second one that we said was 12/19, which would be, that is a Thursday, and that's the day after Santa and Cookies. And doing that one in the evening, so 6 o'clock. We can only have 3 people at a time doing this. Otherwise, we have created a quorum, which we cannot do. So if you're interested in signing up for one of those times to help sort, let us know. And then ideally we would deliver them on the Friday, the 20th, so that they're in the hospital's hands before Christmas. If that doesn't work for them, then we'll have to do something post New Year's, because it's always, like, it's hard to get a hold of people between, in that window. So, but we'll know
That
more of
wouldn't
a
be that bad. Sometimes there's so much happening before Christmas that
Mhm.
it can kind of be kind of a letdown after Christmas.
Yeah. And I think, yeah, and I think last year we dropped them off. Yeah, we delivered early January. So I think that's kind of the idea, is some either right before Christmas or right after New Year's to drop them all off. And then Robert did say we could, if there were so many books that we did need more than 3 people, then we can make a special meeting, and we just put out an agenda that says we are sorting books for our book drive, just so that we have shown that we are all together at a potential quorum level. So that is that. So we don't, anyway, if that's something we need to do, we can do that. So that's the update. I didn't leave anything out.
How will you be categorizing who's going to be working what?
Well, just volunteers. Who wants to volunteer, whatever
Asking
time.
for that now, or are you asking? For that?
Sure. Yeah,
We're
let's
not-
do
we
that,
don't
because
have
we
any
won't
meeting,
have a
so-
meeting. Yeah. So Lee wants the 10th.
I would be working on the 10th, so I can.
I'll
Aim
try
for
the
the
10th.
10th.
I'll do the 10th.
Okay, Paul wants the 10th. David, you said you want to do the 19th.
I'd have to do the 19th. Either that or I have 12 little boys.
Yeah, no, and I think that we were thinking the 3 of us would do the first round anyway. Because Tuesday is my day off.
We're supposed to count on next week.
Yes, and that's the other thing we want you to do. Like, one count, it's counting 2 ways. The first way of counting is how many total books were donated. And then as you are putting the acceptable books in boxes, writing the number of books that are in that box on the outside, so we can kind of keep track of exactly how many books we physically donated to whomever we end up donating them to.
I think, having the big finale on Santa night might get us a lot of books, rather than a standalone event like we tried to do.
Yes, and we're not going to do any kind of kickoff event like we did last year. We just felt like that was kind of a waste of everyone's time, and it's not. It's about people bringing in the books, is what it's about. So,
Just a comment, if the hospital says they still have a lot of books, I know they're physically not in Farmers Branch, but they serve Farmers Branch.
do Metro Crest, and then one of the things for their actual facility,
They were
yeah.
asking for like kids that are waiting while their parents are seeing a social worker,
Right.
or if the parents are in, you know, and
Mhm.
they wanted them more in the lobby and
Right.
around for people to.
To pick up. Yeah, that was one. And then the city has started working with Woven Clinic. And so that was another place that we'll potentially reach out to if Vince gets back to me and says they're good. I was texting with him earlier this week, so I'll give him till like middle of the week next week to know, you know, to see if they need them or not. I know last year when we dropped them off, he said they were coming to their like last box. So unless it's just not as many people have been in, then I don't know. Maybe they don't need as many books. So, okay, there's still one more opening, Zach, if you're interested on the 19th.
Yeah, I can do the 19th.
Okay. And then that's everybody. And then I'll let everybody know what the drop off date is. Is it is nice for all of us to be there. Just the city likes to have a picture of the board dropping them off.
The city put in here.
So there you go. That's the book drive update.
Do we need some motion for anything? or do
Nope.
we need Action.
Nope, it's not an action item. We are through all the action items. Those have to go first now. That's what the city says on our agenda. And
So
then
Heather,
then
does that-
discussion
does that
things.
mean You don't want me to drop by tons of books until the 25th?
Actually, if you can give me till Wednesday of next week, I can have a space for them. How many
Alright.
boxes are we talking?
I've got 3 right now.
That's fine. I've got space for
And
that.
at least one neighbor who said she had a bunch she would donate. So that's probably talking 5 or under.
I've got space for that.
And not full book boxes either. I mean, they're not 75 pounds.
You've seen them deliver books here, haven't you? You've seen the dollies that walk up to the door. Okay.
All right. Our next item is the Tearjerker movie event. This was something that we had started to plan going into the summer last year, and then it just kind of evaporated into the ether. And Lee wanted to revisit it. So I guess the idea we can do another subcommittee for this. That way it can keep the time it takes to plan it is outside of our actual meeting time, and then it's just a report back. Yeah.
Things I remember as a new member of the board last year is they had originally aimed it around Valentine's because the schools would run out of Kleenex.
Uh-huh.
And you're
Yes.
supposed to bring a box of Kleenex.
But your movie ticket was a box of tissues. Yeah.
The library had so many things planned. And that's a big month for y'all. And you do your planning meetings towards the end of January.
We plan 3 months in advance. We are currently planning February, March, and April.
I just remember we never did pull it
Yeah.
off. And then summer reading.
Happened. Right.
I just was throwing that in for historical perspective.
Yeah. So it's just, is this something that we would like to keep doing? And then if it is, are there people who would like to be on the subcommittee to plan and organize? The
other
event.
question I have for Heather on stuff you're planning February, is there any way we could piggyback on something like we're doing with Santa Fe Cookies and not doing a separate book drive thing? And
Potentially.
somehow involve the Kleenex. You know, that, it's just, because I remember, I don't want to burden the staff.
Yeah.
You know, and y'all already have something, you have a new youth person, you have, you know, a lot of new ideas on the table.
We could also do it as a drive, just kind of like we're doing the book drive, and just have them brought in and just advertise them at the events that are already going on.
Yeah.
Mhm.
If you have something in collection.
Yeah. Just a collection.
Because we also found it's hard to find a good tearjerker in a little race or about animals.
Right. Yeah, no, we were finding that either it had to be an animal that died or it needed to be like a rom-com. And then your families can't, yeah.
And we had it at the wrong time.
Yes, yeah.
You have to worry about daylight savings time, and it's gonna be dark at 6 o'clock and the kids out. And that's stuff for the subcommittee to discuss.
Yeah, I just was talking that out.
And also, could it be something that when the teen advisory board comes in, it might be something that they might want to look into?
Absolutely.
Because especially for aiming to maybe that age
I
level.
think that was
to
what we had talked about this last time, was trying to get something that would
be
be,
more for them than the
Mhm.
little girls.
yeah,
Maybe we push this to January for discussion.
we can do that.
Think on it.
Runs the teen advisory board. Like,
Her name is Taylor.
oh, okay, the youth,
Yeah, the new.
She's a
the new-
librarian.
the older.
Mhm.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
with the little kids.
kids.
Okay.
Mm,
Any other thoughts, ideas about the tearjerker movie event night situation? No? Okay. Then that brings us to our final agenda item, which is future items for our meetings. So far for that, I have revisiting Fine Free and making it an action item, and then revisiting the tearjerker movie night as well. Is there anything else we need to revisit?
Question for Heather. Would it be better if the subcommittee on tearjerker met
Yes, this is for
January
action.
when your staff already have their-
Is
to
this-
see what we can feedback on. Feedback.
If you're wanting to piggyback, I think we're gonna finalize in December. We'll finalize our January through March calendars, so it'll be ready by January.
So then you'll know. Yeah. Well, and even allergy season, right? Like you could, a spring fever type thing.
Is there a way of getting a report on the rehanging of the paintings and
I believe I can add that to the list. Yes, we are waiting for some rainy days for the parks people to come in and hang.
Yeah, I think stats on that is a good idea. Part of the director's report.
Anything else? The bookmobile?
I will add that to my discussions with Robert.
Okay, perfect. All right. Anything else? If you think of something while you're washing your hair, shoot. It's when I have all my best ideas.
Yeah, shower first before we-
Yeah, and then just send Heather an email.
so
It has to be like a week before, 8 days. 8 days.
So just so you guys are aware of the schedule as we're planning these, Kristen and I meet the Tuesday, the week before,
For the first two, no, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
9 days.
9 days. Kristen and I meet 9 days before. I finish the agenda the day after we meet, which means I submit it the following day to Robert. So that's when minutes have to go in, everything has to go in because he has to approve. And then
They have to get approved by Stacy.
city secretary has to approve and they have to be posted for a certain amount of time. So
We got that one.
All right.
Yeah, move to adjourn.
David moves to adjourn.
One clarification.
Oh, okay.
If we think we're gonna work a lot of these events, then we should sign up with volunteers.
sure,
Mhm.
I do more than.
that's fine. I'm happy to have you. Do we need to verify the January date?
Oh, yes, let's do.
I know we verified the calendar in
Calendar as a
general.
whole, but, so the January date as it stands is the 9th of January. So the next meeting would be, the 9th of January, and again, those will be 6 o'clock going forward. And then February would be the 13th of February. So you'll have to skip your Galentine's plans.
February 14th,
13th. The 14th is a Friday,
Friday the 13th sounds.
Yeah.
Or Friday.
the 14th, yeah. That feels like a very niche like a niche horror film is February the Friday, February the
There's
14th.
one called Saturday the 14th.
Is there really?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so the next two meetings, back on track, I'm getting loopy. January 9th, February 13th. Our meetings going forward will be at 6 o'clock, plan to be here at 5:30. And yes, okay. Now I think we are ready to adjourn. Yes, no?
Move to adjourn.
All right, David moves to adjourn.
Okay.
Lee seconds. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? All right, and we are adjourned at 8:13. Is that thick packet? I'm going to get a new binder.